Subano is an African proverb I say everywhere I go. It simply means, I see you, I hear you, and I honor you. My brothers and sisters, I stand as tall as I do, for I stand on the backs of my ancestors. Had it not been for them, and many of them who lost their lives, I would not have this privilege to be able to pass on the baton of knowledge. My brothers and sisters, where there's knowledge, there's power. Power to make a difference in our communities. So I say to you again, Subano, I see you, I see your spirit, I hear your voices, and I honor your presence. I'm Queen Jefferson, and this is the Voices program, a very new format for 2012. I'm all excited. I'm one of the co-hosts, and we have 4 other co-hosts, and I'm gonna let them talk a little bit about their ministries and the work that they do. But what I do is called Journey Interfaith Ministries, and we work with people who have been through sexual abuse and physical abuse and also spiritual abuse. And we have workshops that can help you to develop your new behavior, your new insight on life. And those who don't know you, who are you? And why are you here?
I'm Poet Danny Queen, and I'm here to talk about the business and to talk about spirituality and to talk about my work. And it's just great to be here.
Okay. Wonderful. I'm really very excited to be part of this show. There's just so much I know that we can educate our audience with by just the discussions that we will be having today.
And who are you?
And I'm Cleopatra Islar, and I'm the co-founder of C&G Global Connections. It's a travel business, and really my travel business was initiated by my book. When I wrote my book, I'm originally from Georgetown, Guyana, and that's in South America, the only English-speaking country in South America. After I wrote my book, I realized that this is something that I wanted people to get a hold of in terms of faith, because my book, the name of my book is My Odyssey from Ghana to America via Africa. I spent 15 years in Africa, and the experience that I've had in the 15 years that I spent there, I want to share some of that. And that was my book was the catalyst for the travel business that I have. From Guyana to Africa, did you see a lot of things in Guyana that remind you, or in Africa? Was there a close correlation from those experiences you had in Guyana to those experiences you had in Africa? Well, to be precise, I lived in 2 countries in Africa. Zambia, I lived in the capital, which is Lusaka, and Cote d'Ivoire, and the capital of Cote d'Ivoire at that time was Abidjan. I found very close similarities to my culture when I lived in Abidjan. Strangely enough, because in Cote d'Ivoire, it's a French-speaking country, but the food, the actual environment was just so similar to some of the places in my hometown. So I would say Cote d'Ivoire was a little closer to some of our culture.
In culture, right.
Yes. Zambia is a bit different. The climate is very different from the climate in Guyana.
How so?
Cote d'Ivoire, because they have a period of cold weather in Guyana. It's always hot, or it rains when it gets too hot. It's never in between.
Do they have a rainy season there?
Yes, they do. We have
a
rainy season in Guyana, which is that's the only time you get a little bit of a calmer temperature. That's it.
Wow.
We still have one more guest to be introduced.
Yes, of course.
one more host. This is like, it's like, wait a minute. Yeah, it's like he just went ahead. I was like, come on now, Doc.
That's okay. That's okay. It was good conversation. Well, good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
My name is Dr. Brenda Crowder Gaines. Brenda, for short. I always say good morning. I don't care what time of day it is. And my ministry is Good Morning Ministry. Because in Isaiah it says, a weeping may endure for a night, but joy.
That's right. That's how we all know about that.
So I always say
it's always
good morning.
Because I'm glad to be in the world.
Yes. Yeah, that's true.
Yes, indeed. And my ministry focuses on somebody's child. I think when we talked earlier, I was trying to find, and Cleopatra was trying to help me find this poem. I know it was an anonymous author, and it talked about, you know, don't be too quick to condemn me because I have had a bad life. And remember, you see but the present and know not what's in the past. I may bear the mark of a sinful child. I may even have been a bit wild. But back of all that remains the fact that I am somebody's child.
Right.
And everybody is somebody's child. They first are a child of God. And when you look at, I focus on two special to my heart, women, young women. I always think they need a mentorship piece with them. And I look at those young people that have parents or guardians that are from the faith community, and they have grown up with alternative lifestyles. And I stop short of saying they chose a lifestyle, because as I had said before, I don't think they chose it because I don't think God gave them a choice that he didn't give me. They are who they are. And those two groups for me is where it hits home. And I always feel like I want to be there for the parents and for them to kind of, you know, listen, to give them my expertise, to give them what I've been through and those kinds of things like that. So that's where I am.
You know,
it's a beautiful thing.
You know what I'm excited about the show is because we all are going to talk about our reason for going to the ministries and the businesses we are here. Because we all have a different but yet the same. I know it sounds crazy, but it's yet the same. When you talked about young and being a young person and some of the things that maybe a young person has gone through, I want to disclose that at the age of maybe 20, I found out the last name that I went by for 20 years was not my last name.
Wow.
That my father
what an experience.
was not my father. And so imagine finding that out, and finding it out because I had a job that I worked with the government, and I had to have my birth certificate. So to see my name different from what I was used to, that threw me into a whirlwind.
A different person.
Yes, and I had to
different mindset.
Well, I had to really do one thing. I had to either say I accept it, or I could reject it and have resentment. And that's why I started Journey Interfaith Ministries, to teach people how to heal from their past pains.
Wow. Pain of the past.
Pain, yes.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of pain out there. I have always shared with people, particularly when I look at those children that are gay. There's a lot of pain. My son bypassed that. Thank you, God, for that. But he bypassed all that because he didn't have any of that negative, and that, you know, your father's not talking to you, your mother kicks you out of the house, you know, your relatives won't have anything to do with you, those kinds of things like that. He always had a positive experience. But his friends had such horror stories and such pain in their life. I said, you know, we really need to rally around them, get those people who have not had those awful experiences and get them to support those people that have. I always am looking for someone that has not had a horrible experience, who have had, you know, just positive things to say about their children, the children about their parents. I'm still looking. I know they're out there. I know they're there.
Is it many? You are African American male. I mean,
well, I can't speak for everybody.
But as a representation.
Yeah.
Somebody's out there.
Well, yeah, I'm sure they are. They're out there. It's a matter of finding them.
I just want to have a listing of those people that can be very supportive to those people that have had those awful experiences. Yeah.
It's also about healing too, finding that healing experience.
Yes,
because we have We have everybody in our community. We have all kinds of folk in our community. And it's it always gets me when other people outside of our community think that African Americans, that we're somehow monolithic. We're not monolithic. I mean, I had growing up, I had about 40 cousins because my mother and her sisters live right next door. And we've grown up, nobody messed with us in school either.
I'm sure they
There's a whole lot of us. So, but we had all kinds of experiences just growing up. You know,
so if I rode the small bus to school, I may not know what monolithic means. What does that mean?
Small bus.
The yellow, the short bus. Yeah.
Did you ever get off the small bus?
I didn't get off. I was like, come on. It was like the short yellow bus.
It's just that we're not all the same.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I remember when Thomas was going through, the trial, and I was in North Carolina at the time, and I was going into the building I worked in. A lady walked in there, and she says, and I just think it's terrible that anybody could believe anything he says, and I know you all don't. I turned around and I looked behind me, and it was just she and I going the door. I said, you all who? She said, well, black people. I said, well,
oh my God.
I said, well, what point do all of you all think is this? I said, I can think of one, but I don't want to talk about that one. I said, but how can you think we all think alike if you all don't think alike? And it made me think about that when you said, people think we're just all of one mindset, and we're not.
That's right.
No, we're not. It's probably 40, 45 million black people in America. We have at least 40 billion different experiences.
Exactly.
Every black experience is not the same as somebody else's, even if you live in the same town. It has a lot to do with the way you were raised and a lot of other things.
That's the key, the information and
conditioning,
broadening your horizon and broadening your mind in terms of accepting other points of view. Because a lot of the times people get stuck in stereotyping.
Right.
And that could be dangerous to any level.
You know what? I also find that African Americans and Africans tend to have a somewhat of a dysfunctional relationships. And when I talked to a woman who was in Nigeria, she said, and you can tell me if it's correct, she literally said that African Americans have had the privilege to be in America. And to have all these benefits for them, and all the education and all the wonderful experience. And Africans, they have had the privilege of understanding where they came from. So African Americans have that. I mean, here's a historian. So you tell me. Yes.
Well, I can address some of that. And why? Because I've been in both.
Okay.
Arenas. And living in Africa, I know that Africans really do appreciate education. It's at the top of anything that they do. Education is of primary importance. And when you come to America and you see how you can get into a university very easily, there are a lot of community colleges, and you don't have to, like the children in some parts of Africa have got to walk so far to get to school.
There's no school bus.
No, and they walk. Some of them walk 3 miles. My son, we were in Zambia last August. My children 2 of them were born in Zambia. And we hadn't been there for 23 years. And we went there in August. And my son, he was supporting a school. It was called Simakata. Yes, Simakata. In Monze, I believe it is. Choma. It was Choma, yes. He wanted to see the school with his own eyes. So luckily, on our way back from Victoria Falls, we were able to find this school. And of course, school was out, but he saw some children in the yard. He went in there to look, and they were just so excited to see the person who was helping to donate. Every month, he'll send a little bit of money to help the school. Yes. So
that's awesome.
That's good.
I was just so happy
giving back.
He was able to see the construction that was taking place and how far they had gone with the donations. And of course, it's a global thing. It's one of those organizations that will collect money for different charities around the world. And he was able to see where his pounds
that's important
were going.
And that's sad to hear, because my parents were in education. And when I grew up, my father most of the time lived somewhere else because he was a principal. And one school that he was a principal of, it was it had a porch all the way around the school. And when I got out of school, in the summertime, we went to live with my father, and they were in school because when cotton season came, they closed the colored schools, and they picked cotton with their parents.
Oh yeah, we were colored then.
They picked cotton with their parents. So in the summertime, when everybody else was out of school, they were in school. So when people started talking about, you know, year-round school, I'm like, well, I did that till I was in the 6th grade, so I don't know what y'all talking about. But we, you know, we really had that thirst for education. I have always said, and this may be a little controversial, but, you know, I'm all right with my stuff.
Stuff. Yeah, let's just be clear.
Yes. I have always said that TV, to a certain extent, you know, some TV is good because it, you know, gets people connected.
The power of TV.
Yes. And integration were big X's when you talk about African Americans.
Well, come on now.
Oh, you agree, huh?
Now, when you talk about when I was growing up, telling my age. When I was growing up, they taught us how to speak, how to set a table.
That's right.
How to have conversation. Yes. How to be polite and respectful. They taught us that in school.
Okay, in school.
And in my neighborhood, we had the single parent. We had the pastor, we had the teachers, we had the doctors and lawyers all living in the same
community.
Neighborhood.
Same, yeah.
Now I look at my neighborhood, and the majority of people in my neighborhood, whoever they are not professional. For some of them, many of them have not finished high school, and I'm like, you know, come on, y'all, get a grip, get a grip.
But you know, when you think about education in our community, I remember growing up, and people in the community, they even whether it was at church or just in the community, people would say, boy, go to school and get a good education, and learn how to do something for yourself so you can come back and do something for your community. And they put an old wrinkled doll in your hand, so go off and be somebody.
So they encourage you.
They would encourage you.
They would.
So we don't, I'm not saying that it doesn't happen now, but we don't see it the way we used to. They stressed education. Our parents stressed education. Get a good education. Because they used to always say, nobody can ever take that from you. When you got it, you got it.
You know what's interesting? I hear everybody, and I come from Kansas. Put me down because I come from Kansas now.
Click your heels 3 times.
Don't put me down because I come from Kansas now. But I'm from Kansas, and I'm a preacher's daughter.
Wow.
Pentecostal. So what I'm getting ready to say may sound kind of weird. They taught us you don't need no AA, BA, DD. All you need is Jesus. So the education that y'all talking about, yes, I went for it. However, that's not what was taught to us. It was taught that all you need is Jesus. Well, yes, you do need Jesus, but you also need some little education.
And
you do.
You take one step, I'll take two.
Yeah, that's right. He also said
you know what I'm saying?
But imagine how the young people grasp to that. I don't want to be, and if you think about the young people now, some of the young people, you don't want to be smart because they gonna you know what? You don't want to be smart. You acting white. You're not black. You know, and so I didn't want in my generation we didn't want to get too much education because we didn't want the people to look at us differently.
Well, I wasn't like that in my household because my grandmother, you know, from the time I was a little child, and when people come to the house, I was always writing poetry and short stories and stuff. And people would come to the house, and it made me proud as a young person to know why I didn't know my grandma was watching me that close. Because people would come to the house and
who's watching.
You never know. And she would always say, that boy gonna be something one day. I'll be doing things, you know, and reading and writing stuff. And she used to always say, that boy gonna be something one day. And that inspired me as a young person to hear
from the grandmother.
My grandmother saying that to people who came to the house all the time. And so I grew up in a situation in Bowie, Maryland, where I saw my parents in business, my grandmother and my aunt. Were in business in Pimlico at the Pimlico racetrack, and they used to have the kitchen there for the horsemen who would come.
Wow!
And also, my grandmother would take me downtown with her. She'd do the shopping for the kitchen. They had a kitchen on the track, but they would come to Miss B's kitchen, which was across the street there in Pimlico at Park Heights, and they would come to my grandmother's kitchen, Miss B's kitchen, and that's where they would have this soul food. Downstairs, she had this big house and this long row house with this long tables and stuff downstairs, and that's where the business was. So when I would go to Baltimore during the summertime, I would see black folk doing business right there.
That's an awesome feeling.
Yes.
So I saw that all the time.
You know, they had the boot black, or what you call them, the shoe repair person.
Oh,
Yes, I
you know, my
remember.
girlfriend's father was a shoe repair person, with the cleaners, you know, everybody I knew in business, because I grew up pre-integration. It was segregated time. So all the businesses that I knew were black.
Black-owned, right.
Wow.
You know, so I grew up thinking, I know when my son grew up, his father used to say, yes, you need to grow up and get a good education and get a good government job. And I'd say, you need to grow up and get a good education and get your own job.
And own a job.
Create your
Own a
own.
job.
Get your own
Create your
job.
own.
Yes.
That's how it is in
yes.
Africa. You know,
Yes.
I'm sure that's how it is in
Actually,
Africa.
in Cote d'Ivoire in particular, there were so many women in business.
Wow.
A lot of the women
Really?
owned pharmacies. Pharmacies. I had
Really?
never seen women in business to that level.
Oh, that's
Yes, they
interesting.
owned
Pharmacies.
gas stations.
Wow.
Yes. In Cote d'Ivoire.
And see, that's almost like
Pharmacy.
contrary to what we see on TV. It's almost like everybody's in, you know, lack.
in the market. No, well, of course, there are lots of
Marketplace.
people who are in the marketplace, but they are entrepreneurs in their own right.
In their own right.
Even if they're in the marketplace, they're giving a service and receiving payment for it. And a lot of them live quite comfortably, just going out every day, selling in the market. But then there's the other level where the women, some of the women, own pharmacies. And that was a big business. They did very well.
Really?
You know.
Wow, that's
Yeah,
interesting.
they're the levels, of course. Here in America, the middle class is a little wider, even though it's shrinking. But there, the middle class, there's a big difference in terms of those who have and those
Those
who
who
So
don't.
it's
Yeah.
not a middle
But
level.
Not so much a white
Middle.
middle class, no. There were a lot of people who did little businesses on the side. They were happy with what they did. They were contented. They carried along every day doing that. But then, of course, there were those who have a whole lot.
Is the middle class growing there? Would you say it's growing?
Well, I think in Zambia it's growing. Ivory Coast had some problems, and they're coming back from it. When I lived there, it was quite a lovely place. But they had, of course, if you listen to the news, they had problems lately. But now
A lot
they're
of
beginning
challenges.
To, yes, a lot of challenges. They're beginning to come back, and they're doing very well. Zambia, on the other hand, they are doing extremely well now. And I think it's more because of what's happening on the border. Zimbabwe has been having some problems. So the tourists have now shifted their focus to the Zambian side of the Victoria Falls, which is a main attraction for tourists. So now that Zambia's got the tourists that used to go to Zimbabwe,
So now I can grow some.
a lot of great business there. Yes. Very good.
And that's the beautiful thing when you see it growing. You know, take for instance right here in Washington D.C. I had an aunt used to tell me about, you know, years ago before I was born probably, back in the say like the 30s and the 40s. How right here in Washington D.C. black people owned all kinds of business because you couldn't go downtown.
That's right.
That's what she was telling me.
That's right.
I mean,
you had to go across the street, not
That's right.
downtown. That's
Well, was
right.
it in the 20s that they had Black Wall Street in Tulsa?
Yeah, Tulsa, Oklahoma. Yeah.
Black Wall Street?
Black Wall
Yeah,
Street.
Black Wall Street.
Yeah.
Interesting. Now, when you say Black Wall Street, how did that function?
Well, it was black people, lots of black business who came together as a conglomerate, and then millionaires and started businesses. Of course, what happened to it in the 20s was, you know, the white folks were jealous, and they actually bombed it from the air.
Oh, really?
Yeah, destroyed it, and then they rebuilt it again. But it wasn't the same because they put a lot of fear in people who ran business. It was very big. It was very large. And they called it Black Wall Street because there was lots of black folk who were in business and had lots of economic power. And so there were other people who were jealous of that.
Now, when you said that, it reminds me of something that they do in Africa, and also, when I say Africa, I know the two countries that I lived, Ivory Coast and Zambia. And in my own country, we have something they call, in Africa they call it a susu.
I have one of those today.
You
Yes.
What is I get it next week. What is that?
What's
Wow. What is it?
Now, let her explain from the American perspective.
Okay.
Now we every 2 weeks we put a certain amount of money in a fund, and there are 12 of us.
Oh yeah.
So we get
People
it
do that.
every 2 weeks. So however much we decide, some people do 25, some people do 100, some people do 200.
Yes.
Whatever it is that you can afford. So that means twice a year, because we start ours in July and then we go all the way to May. So twice a year, you get a lump sum of money for you to do whatever you want. And I try to make sure I get it when I'm getting ready to take, just before I get ready to take my vacation. So I get that lump sum of money.
So is it coming? Is it coming soon?
Yeah, I said next week. I said next week.
Well, as we go to our break, I want the law of attraction to be read.
Yeah, I believe in that attraction there.
Yes, indeed.
No, really.
So is that the same kind of thing?
It's similar, because my mom was the controller. She was the administrator for, we call it a box, and you call it a susu. Now, people would come and give their money, but it ran for, I think, 6 weeks. So the money
it accumulated
very quickly, and it was paid out at more frequent intervals.
Oh, wow.
But you know what? That helped so many people to meet their expenses, to meet their children's school fees in terms of.
Well, we getting ready to go to break. We getting ready to go to break. So go ahead and talk to us about
the law of attraction. This is the poem I read, and it's the motivational piece. The law of attraction: fly high, and dreams are forever fulfilled. You can have, do, and be whatever you will. Whether it's for better or for worse, the law of attraction unlocks the universe. Focus on lack, and life will give you even more of what you never knew you were asking for. As the law of attraction is but the master key, you are the sole creator of your own reality. When you think, and what you think, feel, and ultimately receive is a reproduction of what you secretly believe. Graceful gratitude will open the door to a whole new world you never knew before. Focus on beyond what you hold in your hand, for the law of life is the law of life's command. The power behind the mind's magnetic field is a way out of no way made real. And whether it's for better or for worse, the law of attraction unlocks the universe. What you feel, think, and receive is a reproduction of what you secretly believe. The law of attraction.
Say that one more time. This part, that's just
what you secretly
believe.
Yes, what you think, feel, and ultimately receive is a reproduction of what you secretly believe.
I agree.
And a lot of those secret beliefs are what we as entrepreneurs are trying to help people actualize.
Right.
Yes.
And to be okay with, and to be able to function in this society.
The thing is, what we secretly believe, part of what we secretly believe, a lot of times what we've been taught through conditioning in America, being in America, psychological conditioning. Yes.
Come on now.
That we can't. It's always like, we can't do. The message is always telling us what we can't do, as African Americans. We can do anything. We have done it.
You know, one thing, when first graders start school, they start school thinking they can conquer the world. You can't tell them that there is something they can't do. And by the time they get to the end of the first grade, they know their limitations. They know what alphabets fit them, whether they're ADD or whether they're this, that, and that. They got all these limitations. So they go into the second grade limited. If we would allow them to be who they are, really be who they are, I mean, the world itself would be so much better. The potential that we harness.
I think sometimes when you think about the word education, it comes from the word educo. That means which to bring out of. But in this society, we taught so much trying to put something into. But we have to bring out what the Creator has put in us already, to bring it out. Because whatever it is you are to be in life, your destiny, I say it's date with destiny, it's already there. It's about bringing it out. And that's what it is.
And I like what you said when you talked about be who you are. And that's what your ministry and your business is all about. Allowing people's children to be who they are.
And if they can continue to be who they are, I mean, the world would just be so much better, because they have so many talents and so much to offer. You know, a lot of times I will talk to friends and they're entrepreneurs, not so much in a tangible business, but in what I call intangible businesses, trying to get people to be okay with them, to be comfortable in their skin.
Yes.
Now, it took me a minute to be, but I'm very comfortable in my skin. I'm very comfortable with my stuff. I'm real clear what your stuff is and what my stuff is. And to be able to teach somebody that, to get somebody to learn that and to understand that it's okay, you know, is difficult. Even to teach somebody to say no. That's hard. Now, no is one of the smallest words we know. A little N and a little O, but it is hard to say.
But a lot of religions teach you that it's not okay to be who you are.
Yes, they do.
We've been taught
that.
Yes, we've been taught that.
And also in our communities, historically, we've been taught that there's something wrong with having money.
Yeah, you're right.
Who came with a dumb idea like that?
You
I ain't never thought nothing wrong with having some money.
Be humble. And
you know, you got to be humble. You're gonna never get to heaven if you're rich. I ain't gonna get to heaven being poor.
But one of the things that in the Bible, when you look in the Bible,
poor. Okay.
No, you said right. They understood that. But what the Bible talks about. Rich and being poor, but it does not say that God doesn't want his people to be unhappy. He does not want them to be poor.
Right.
He wants them to be rich beyond riches. And he states that clearly in many passages in the Bible. But people think, you know, well, if I give away everything, if I don't have anything, if I, you know,
that's
being
That's foolish.
And I'm earthy. Well, people can be earthy with sense.
Why can't
you know
you
what I'm
earthy
saying?
and have some money?
Yes,
really?
With sense.
What about
That's what I'm saying.
Scripture? Something about the rule of money, of the love of money.
So the love of money.
Love of money. When you put money before God. When you put money before God.
Right.
When you put money before God, because you have to tithe. Right. And you have to understand what money is. Money, not anything. Food, clothes, money, anything can be evil.
But isn't it energy too?
Yes, energy. Yes. Money is currency. You know, I have a saying: if you save, my grandma used to always say, if you save money, money will save you.
Yes, yes. And my father would always tell me, he said, pay yourself. You are a bill. So if you want to save money, you the bill. He said, why would you pay other people you don't know and not pay you?
You better pay you. When you save.
I like that.
When you save money, you're paying yourself.
Yes.
Pay yourself first.
Pay yourself first, right off the top.
I don't care who you paying, all them folk.
Exactly.
That's why I try to make sure I put money away for my hair.
Oh Lord, where my hair from?
I gotta make sure.
I know you got something in there.
Oh Lord,
I gotta make sure I have some money. And people who is watching, they know what I'm talking about. Don't play like you don't know.
But you know what?
For that hair.
I think I wrote this piece for people who had the hair thing.
Okay, let's hear that. Let's hear that.
It's a business poem, and it's simply entitled "The Black Korean," and the subtitle is "The Business of Black Hair." They say you had no beauty to behold, but the big bucks in black beauty is black gold. As the talk of the town, simply second and done, sisters spend their last dime to get their due done. Those who capitalize on, and supply synthetic hair own and dominate black beauty everywhere. To survive, we got to do what we must. When black hair has made everybody rich but us. We spend billions yearly to keep our do razor sharp, and we don't even own the stores where we shop. Wow. But I don't blame them, but I do fault us for not working together and love and mutual trust. Our hunger for hair to them is not unknown, because we wear everybody's hair but our own. Wow. But the Korean could not control the care of black hair if we, the black consumer, didn't take our money there. If we don't plan our work and work our plan, those who do capitalize on the supply and demand. If we know, Koreans know, a sister's hair is a crown. So they take the money home. When the sun go down, the black Korean.
Well, you know, I've always said, that I was half black and half Korean because my hair is Korean.
Hey.